take a look at one of my favorite cards, the TDM Magician. I say my favorite because, I actually do magic from time to time, etc. So, a good card to start with. So, he does have a variety of things on the table, and he does have some differences between him and the standard Rider-Waite Magician as well. Now, on the table, you do have varying objects on the table, such as maybe the knife for the swords, a wand in his hand for the wands, and then the pentacles could be some of these. These could be coins or balls, and we'll talk about that in a minute. I believe they're both. And we have some odd things on the table as well, such as a purse, which could map out to other things as well. Now, one of the things that is obviously on the table are some dice as well. So why do we have dice on the table? This is a bit different than the traditional Rider-Waite Magician. Rider-Waite does not have dice. He does not have the cups and balls. He does not have coins. And yeah, he does have one pentacle. But he doesn't have a variety of things on the table as this one does. So we have a bit of a difference here between the standard Magician and then the TDM Magician. One of which is the TDM Magician is more oriented towards a street magician. He's more of a street magician. And I say that because he has pretty much the cups and balls, right? And he's holding the cups and balls. He's holding the ball in his hand in a traditional, just a traditional drop vanish position, right? So this is a traditional position that you would have to perform the cups and balls. This is very common. You see it all over, the cups and balls being the oldest trick in the world. How do I know that? Because every magician says it. So within his hand as well, he does have a wand, but he's not really serious about it as the other magician from the Rider-Waite Smith deck is. The Rider-Waite Smith deck, this magician is very serious. He's got that absolute grip on the magic wand. And then you look over here, and the TDM Magician, he's pretty casual. He seems much more casual. And again, on the table, again, we have a cup. It could be from a chop cup or what have you, but it's a basic cups and balls trick, right? The basic cups and balls trick, where you have this, you put the ball in, you shake it up where you can hear it. So you can actually hear it. You take the ball out. Yes, then you grab another ball, you roll it in here, and you can get the ball and you can put it underneath here, and then you take it off and you have two balls. So it's a traditional cups and balls trick, and this is a chop cup, obviously, but it's a traditional cups and balls trick with, again, dice, games, and a purse. And I say purse because this is a traditional sort of a coin purse from old, and it has a variety of coins to do coin tricks, and that's what could be involved within this particular magician, or it could be involved within this particular trick, all right? So again, I say drop vanish. Let me show you what I mean. We have a place that he's storing items. We have a variety of objects on the table. Again, it's a street magician. So why does this matter? Well, first off, a street magician is going to have a lot of different outlooks and aspects than, let's say, the traditional magician that we've seen in the Rider-Waite. And I say that because a street magic is more difficult, right? Street magic is not an easy living. When you go and do street magic, you can't really work during the harsh winter months or any time that it's just pouring rain when people are not coming around. As well as you kind of wonder, and you're trying to get attention as well. So you're begging for attention versus some people who are more dominant or loud. Let's say musicians, for example, much louder. You have to work a crowd and you have to, get people to pay attention to you versus the juggler or the musician playing the guitar or, the dancer next door, etc. So you have a lot of different competition for street magic. So you're asking what's up with the outfit naturally. Well, the large hat is one feature that is going to be something to get attention. Not only to get attention, but again, you're competing with different people. Getting attention is a good thing. The other thing is a large hat will help you when people throw coins. Basically, when you're doing street magic, as I've done many times before, you put a hat down, and the hat, people will throw money or throw coins and what have you, and they don't really want to get too near you, so they'll throw it from a distance, right? And obviously, doing street magic back then, when this was sort of in vogue per se, doing street magic then, you're going to have mostly coins. So people throwing coins, it's going to be easier to hit a larger hat when you put the hat on the ground for tips. So we have a variety of different symbolism going on as well. For example, the feet are pointing different directions, which points us to or hints us at an indecisive magician or an indecisive person. He can't figure out which way he wants to go. In addition, he's looking left to the past. So if that's the past and that's the future, he's looking left to the past. But again, he has that relaxed feel, that big relaxed feel to him. So let's go to the computer and compare this magician to previous magicians. So we can see the sort of the evolution of the magician over time, right? With the current card that we're using on the right and previous version. Again, there's so many variations, so many versions of this. So the first thing to note is sort of the hat, right? As many books talk about, it's the lemniscate, I believe I'm pronouncing it correctly, the infinity sign. It's the infinity sign, as well as it's a big hat. I mean, me being a magician, I'm more inclined to look at the big hat, but I mean, it resembles a bit the infinity sign, and you sort of have that aspect to the hat. And the next thing to notice is we still have that red and that blue, right? The fire and then the coldness of the blue. So you have that interaction between the two as well. But now we've added buttons on the version, the Jodorowsky version that we're particularly using. So it's interesting that a lot of these colors have sort of changed. The hat went from red to a bit of red and some green, things like that. And the wand as well went from yellow to blue. So you have this interesting mix of colors that have been done throughout the ages or the years. And the other thing is that the ball that he's holding in the French drop type position is the drop Venice position has gotten smaller, which I think is kind of interesting. I wonder what the size difference or where the reduction in size came from. And I ask that because when you do cups and balls or you do chop cup, at the very end of that routine, you produce a larger ball or a baseball or a melon, right? If you look at Gazzo, for example, he produces melons and or a lemon, things like this. So it's interesting that we have possibly a lemon or a larger object, which points me to the previous version of this. He could be done with that particular trick. It could be a final stage of the trick, which brings an additional meaning to the card, right? Because you have an additional meaning now. Is he at the beginning of the trick as to the right, where you have smaller balls, or is he at the end of the trick on the left, where you have the grand production, or maybe the ball is just larger and I'm overdoing it. I don't know. Anyway, it's an interesting aspect. It's an interesting thing to think about as far as the magician is concerned. And the next obvious thing is we have another dice. There was another die added. The balls, maybe coins. Some people say it's coins. I say maybe it's coins and balls combination. Because if you look at what it's under his hand, it's clearly not a coin. That looks like a ball, multicolored ball to me. Maybe the coins are on the left. I don't know. So the purse as well, the purse containing his possessions, containing his tricks, has gotten a bit more decorative as well as far as the table is concerned. And the table has some yellow in it. So the shoes have gone through an interesting transition. The Jodorowsky on the right, the shoes are now yellow, sort of that sun-licked, style, the bit of that yellow, but it has red underneath it, sort of that fire. And yet both versions are pointed in different directions, indicating the uncertainty. I'm not really sure which direction I should be going into. And the ground as well has gone through some color variations. So, I mean, it's interesting to see all the variances of the different decks and how the particular artist that did that deck wanted to convey some additional meanings that we don't have in some of the other decks. So when we look at more symbolism, we have red and blue within the main center of his outfit there. One half red and one half blue. This symbolizes the red is the fire element, right? The fire element to where we need to perform, we need to go out there, we need to do. It's a lot of doing, it's a lot of work. The blue represents a bit of not only clarity and clarity of mind and will, but also detachment, also coldness. We have that sort of that water feel, that we have that bit of a coldness as well with the blue. And that coldness sort of points to the fact that you need to be distant from your audience. You can't be personable with every single person. You can't, talk to every single person for hours. You have to keep sort of a distance to make everybody happy and to give everybody an even slice of the performance. So you do have that distance, and yet you need to work and you need to do the work and get the work done. And that's going to be an important aspect within this. So you have the coldness, a bit of the clarity, as well as doing the work and sort of charming people at the same time, if that makes sense. I know charming people and coldness doesn't correspond, but you know what I'm saying. If you're doing a street performance and you need to do hundreds and hundreds of people a day, you can't really talk to one person for hours or isolate one person and just pay only attention to them. You have to pay attention to everybody. So you have to keep a degree of distance. So if that makes sense as well. So underneath the feet of this particular magi, we have red, meaning sort of going in both directions or activity in both directions, sort of an activity in both the past and the future. So very interesting sort of a concept behind the Magi, and we have a lot of fascinating things going on within this card, as well as the hand. I know some books say that they're not sure what that object is, but again, I do believe that we are looking at a ball fall. I do believe that we are looking at just a standard cups and balls, chop cup, etc., etc. So, just my opinion, of course. So, that is the magician. So, let's see what the magician looks like within a reading. So, let's take a look at the magician within a reading. So, we have the Two of Wands on the right, in other words, into the future of the magician. And we also have on the left the Four of Cups. So, the Four of Cups sort of represents the that emotional security, emotional stability. 4 is a stable number. 4 is a stable number. And when we have that 4 within the realm of cups, we are looking at a stable emotional state, or sort of being within an emotional state that is going to be stable and firm and something we can rely on. Now, the magician's sort of looking over at that, right? Maybe he sort of misses that emotional state, or he had that emotional state and something happened, and now he's a bit in between, again, the red and the blue. So he's doing that work. He's doing work. So one of the translations of the magician, for me at least, is doing the work, getting the work done. Not only the mastery of the tools, but getting the work done. And he's looking over at missing sort of a home life, a family life, etc., and that emotional stability. And it could be a situation where the querent has a lot too much work, and they do miss the emotional connection with people. They had to break up with somebody, etc., etc. You don't know. So the next card on the right, into the future, is the Two of Wands, which is sort of a decision, right? The 2 is a decision, or sort of a partnership, or almost a duality feel. And here we have a decision that needs to be made. In other words, the Wands are action. And we have 2 different actions to choose from. We need to make a decision between those two actions. So he could be making a decision about this emotional stability, about going too much into the work, and now he's sort of moving into a decision place where he wants to go back here, or does he want to continue the work? So we have the emotional security, emotional stability, and an important decision that has to be made. And the decision that has to be made could be related to the meaning of the actual magician, which again could be maybe he has his baggage, maybe he's carrying his baggage into this situation, similar to how the fool was carrying his baggage. Is that his baggage, or is that more tools, right? So one of the decisions that he needs to be made, and it's going to need to be made in the future, and it's important because this is going to dramatically affect him, and he does miss that stability, that emotional stability that he once had. So now we have the magician in between the fool, which we already learned. Again, the fool carrying his baggage, wandering around, maybe wandering into something not so good. His outfit could be falling apart. We have one of the bells or what have you, the buttons falling off of the outfit, and he's moving forward. He's moving forward into, but he is the fool, literally the fool, and he has dogs chasing him. He's out of place, and he's just sort of wandering around at this point. So he's wandering around, not looking down, not paying attention, and he's going into this space of the magician. Now, could that be the work section? Could that be having all the tools? In other words, he starts out at a fool, and he goes into a place of more mastery or more of an expertise because of possibly the work being done. Now he's looking back at his decisions that led him here, and he's concentrating on that. So you have these two mutual people looking at each other. Well, the fool's looking up, but you have these two people mutually looking at each other. And again, we have that indecisive 2 feet going in two different directions. Do you go into the future to where you have this financial security and almost this wealth feeling over here? Or do you sort of miss that time to where you were carefree? You didn't think about anything, and there was no effort, and everything just happened sort of magically. But again, you were being chased. Maybe there's some things going on with that. But again, we're into an area to where you're a master of your tools, and everything is looking great for you as far as the magician goes. But again, the indecisiveness, you need to go one way or another. You have that red. You can't exactly ignore the red. The red is action. You have to do something. And within the future, you have financial security, maybe because of all the work that you did, maybe because of all of that particular street magic that you did. You never know. Is that where the financial security is coming from? Maybe, but you do lead into financial security or that wealth or that nice, beautiful 10 of coins card. So either way, it's up to you to determine sort of via your intuition how all of these work together. But we have a defined movement into this card. We have that indecisiveness. Which way do I want to go? Do I want to go back to the carefree? Do I want to move into the luxurious sort of the wealth field? So that is the magician. And hopefully you have learned a bit. I know being a magician, I have sort of a unusual take on the magician, but the magician is a very powerful card, and it's such a fantastic card as well. And hopefully I've made it easier to understand, and in the context of the very serious Rider-Waite-Smith magician, this is different. It's different. You can't just bring the meanings from this one over into this one. We have a different situation. We have different types of magic. We have street magic, street performer, and he is doing an entertainment more than a ritual, in my opinion. So again, thank you for joining me for The Magician. Speaking of, did you know that I had a Patreon? That's right. Go to patreon.com, Tarot Oracle. My supporters are Adam G., Alley Cat, Annie LeMaster, Brianna Santiago, Carmen Gabriano, Carolyn Bouchard, Crystal McGinn, Fatima, Galatia 9, Gary Fink, Irina, Jessica Mante, Kim Wilson, KSW, and La Ami, Richard, Zach, Shintaro Kuga, Sanai Zamora, and Linda Lee. Thank you so much for being my supporters, and thank you so much for all of your support over the time that I've been doing this. I really appreciate it. This helps me with the bills around here. It helps me with the live streams. It helps me with all the tutorials I do. So I greatly appreciate it if you could throw a bit of support my way. And as always, please hit like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching Tarot News, and we'll see you next time.